We're post Jubilee weekend, the bunting is still flying, and I've just realised that it has been 12 months with the Indian Scout. I haven't done one of these kind of moto-vlog style videos for too long, far too long. So I thought, what the hell, get the camera out, we'll have a chat about what I've discovered on my journey, and it has been a journey into becoming a cruiser guy. So let's talk about it. So I suppose, having owned a bike like this for 12 months, I'm officially a cruiser dude, right? Which is a weird thing to say, because before I got this bike, I very much viewed motorbikes in two distinct categories. There was cruisers and everything else. And I was always very into the everything else bit, and I'd kind of psychologically just put cruisers in a separate bucket. They were very much off the radar, wasn't particularly interested, and they just kind of vanished in my mind. They just kind of weren't a bike that I ever thought I could be all that interested in. I don't really know why. It's just one of those things. And as I started doing the YouTube channel and started to think a little bit more broadly about motorbikes and all the different types of bikes out there, I realised that I just never experienced this type of machine. So I started, you know, getting the itch to check it out. And I remember vividly going into a big Harley Davidson dealership, and I was almost kind of gobsmacked by what I was looking at. You know, there was so much glitter and chrome, stay there, and sparkly stuff, and just like the size of everything. Everything was so big. I was just like, how am I going to get into this? Is there any way that I could ever get a bike like this? It just felt so alien. But a little bit more research into the whole thing, and started to discover this kind of, I guess, subgenre of the cruiser bike, which is, well, I guess what they call midsize. And you might remember I did a video on the Triumph Speedmaster. That's kind of one of those mid-sizey type cruisers, not like the big massive full-on things, but feet forwards, lots of shiny stuff, you know, relaxing, all that kind of stuff. Really enjoyed that bike on the little test ride I did. And then started looking at other things like, you know, there's the smaller Harleys like the Sportster and all that. And in the end, I kind of settled on the Indian Scout, because for me it was a little bit of a, I suppose it's like a gateway drug. It wasn't a full commitment to the cruiser thing. It was kind of halfway there. Manageable size, still got a decent amount of performance to it, but still has a lot of those kind of cruiser characteristics. You know, that low down power, it's not particularly revvy, feet forwards, looks beautiful. So for me, this was where I wanted to start, and it's kind of been ideal in that sense. It's given me a taste. It's given me a taste of cruiser lifestyle without going full on into it. And it's been absolutely wonderful. Absolutely amazing. And the eye-opening bit, really, I suppose, comes in two departments. The first is learning to love motorcycling for its relaxing qualities, not just getting out there and getting that kind of rush of adrenaline from riding fast and all that kind of stuff, but actually enjoying going slowly and enjoying the scenery and enjoying going places, and not just stressing yourself out by thrashing the bike around. Because this type of bike, as you probably know, it doesn't encourage any of that kind of behavior. I mean, right now I'm literally 5th gear, 2,300 RPM, couldn't be more relaxed. very comfortable, feet forwards, arms slightly raised. I'm just enjoying it. And mentally, that's been really nice. It's been that kind of bike that I've gone to if I just want to switch off for a bit, just want to chill out, switch off, spend a bit of time on my own. I'd enjoy just being outside without stressing about it. So it's been really nice in that sense. The other massive eye-opener for this bike has been discovering the joy of Twoup riding with my girlfriend. Something I'd never really done before. Never really had bikes that were anywhere near suitable for it. It's debatable as to whether this bike is suitable for Twoup riding, but it's kind of doable. And we've had so much fun. Oh my god, we've had so much fun going out on this bike for kind of, you know, not epic tours. We're talking about doing 1,000 miles over a few days. Oh god, we've got a train. I'm going to turn around because we're going to be sat here for a while. Yeah, I mean, about 1,000 miles over about like six days, something like that. So not epic touring, but certainly enough to experience that kind of thing. And the bike's been amazing for it. It's been absolutely fantastic. We did have to do a couple of little upgrades. The suspension's been changed out for the K-Tech Razor lights. The stock suspension was okay for single rider stuff. I was perfectly happy with it, but as soon as you start loading the bike up, it did struggle a little bit. So got that on the bike. Still trying to finesse that a little bit. Still trying to dial that in and get that into that sweet spot. But it's a lot more comfortable for my good lady on the back, which is good. And I also got the Indian luggage system as well, which is the beautiful leather panniers. Stupidly expensive, but a lot of things from Indian are. But they can hold more than enough stuff for a few days out and about on the road. Sorry if you can't hear me very well. Also, I've got a new helmet. It's the first time I've used a showy Glampster for recording a moto-vlog, and it is quite a noisy helmet. It's a bit of a loud one. Hopefully it's not too windy for you guys. So yeah, so that's the other thing that this bike has brought to the table, really, the joy of riding Twoup, going out with a little bit of luggage and spending, you know, a week away from home. There's some lovely tours around Wales, some lovely tours around the Cotswolds, been down to Kent, and it has handled it all absolutely wonderfully. I couldn't really have asked for more. Well, actually I could. The only thing that, you know, if you were going to do a lot of that kind of touring, I suppose would be a little bit more comfort. And that's really the only thing. It isn't one of those big, huge touring bikes, and because of that, it does lack some of that, you know, comfort factor from having, you know, bigger seats and plusher suspension and all that good stuff. So the sacrifice you make in this smaller format is a little bit of comfort out and about on the road. And, you know, the only reason why I would ever consider selling this bike would literally be to do more of what this bike already does really well. And I think that's a testament to this bike. It's kind of opened up our eyes to A, enjoying this kind of relaxed, chilled out cruiser style of bike, and B, doing more touring with my girlfriend, which has turned out to be an absolute blast. So if anything, the downfall of this bike will be because I want to do more of that kind of stuff, and I want maybe a little bit more comfort, maybe a little bit more luxury, and maybe I'm prepared to go for something a little bit more lazy to get that in this style. So if it did get sold, it would be its own fault for being so good at what it does and tempting me to want to step up and go a little bit further. I still don't think I'm ready for one of those, you know, big old, you know, the huge things like the Challengers and the Road Kings and all that. I just can't imagine enjoying dealing with that much weight and that much mass. The great thing about this bike is it is quite a heavy bike. It's around, I think it's about 250 kilograms, something like that. But it wears its weight very, very low down, and it's got very, very low seat height, so you just don't feel it. You know, bikes like my KTM 1290 Super Adventure, when I had that, similar kind of weight, but nowhere near as manageable. Absolutely nowhere near. Very, very top heavy. And because it's quite tall, by the time I've got my foot flat on the deck, the bike's well leant over and you really start to feel every kilogram on that bike. Not so with this one. Woo. And as you can see, you get it out onto these kind of roads and it handles beautifully. .100 horsepower, bags of torque, really all the power you could ever need. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that is really the killer feature on this Scout. The fact that you get that kind of cruiser package, but it kind of reminds me of my my Ducati Monster. I had an old air-cooled 1100 Evo a while back, and the torquey, pokey, grunty V-twin feels quite similar. You know, it's got that kind of performance factor which you don't expect. So it's a wonderful compromise if you're looking to kind of get into this type of bike, and yeah, you kind of want this kind of package, this lazy riding position. You want the looks of the cruiser, but you're not quite prepared to lose all the performance. You know, because this is liquid cooled, it's good. It's good. It's got that kind of grunty, naked bike feel, almost, as I said, like those old air-cooled Ducati V-twins. It's beautiful, beautiful, and it sounds lovely as well. This bike's got the Vance & Hines pipes. I would say if you're going to be doing a lot of miles, they will get annoying. I don't actually have the factory pipes for this bike. It never arrived with those because I bought it second hand, and it just came with these Vance & Hines. So I've been stuck with them, and they're okay. They're a lot of fun. But if you're going to be sitting on the motorway and stuff like that, no, they're going to drive you up the wall after a while. But we don't really do a lot of that kind of riding. It's mainly on kind of roads like this where actually it's a lot of fun. Finally starting to get a hint of summer here in the UK, which means it's only raining half the time. So what else can I tell you about this bike? Do not buy this bike if you are shy or if you don't like other human beings, because everywhere you go, people will come and ask you about this bike. And the first thing that most people will say to you is, "Oh, nice Harley, mate. Didn't know Harley made an Indian." Yeah, so you'll have to go through a lot of that kind of stuff. It's just a very eye-catching bike for people, mainly for people that don't really know much about bikes. They see it and they want to know. You know, it's just one of those bikes. It definitely commands attention. So if you're a little bit of a shrinking violet, don't get it. So let's have a little chat about some of the negative bits then. There's not many. It's a pretty short list, to be completely honest. First thing is the cost of any kind of official Indian accessories and parts. Be prepared for that. If you're going to buy one of these bikes, have a look at all the things that you're likely to want and factor that into your budget, because they are ridiculously expensive, as I said. So definitely bear that in mind. On the actual bike itself, look, you know, it's a slammed out kind of cruiser style bike. So again, as I said, it's not the most comfortable machine in the world. Depends what the roads are like in your area and where you're going to be riding. The UK roads are constantly in a decrepit state of deterioration, so they're pretty bad. And sometimes you do really feel it on this bike. It's the reason why we upgraded the suspension. That's about 600 and something pounds upgrade that you might want to factor in. People put Olins and all kinds of things on these bikes. For me personally, the K-Techs are doing the job quite nicely. So you will need to factor that in possibly as well. What else? Look, people talk about the brakes a lot on this bike. They do work. The back brake is particularly good, but the front brake is, well, it's okay. It will stop you eventually, but you will need to factor that into how you ride for sure. It's a 2-pot single disc, and you will notice that especially when you're loaded up with luggage and if you've got a pillion. Definitely use a lot more back brake than I'm used to on other bikes. Gosh, these roads are a bit narrow and twisty. Where the hell am I? Slow down a little bit here just in case. No, we're all good. Good news is you've got a pretty good chance of people hearing you coming, you'd hope. Wouldn't take that for granted though. Some people say that the tyres on this bike are no good. This has got the Pirelli Night Dragons on. Look, I think they're perfectly fine for this type of bike. Yes, they do get a little bit sketchy if you really stamp on the back brake, but just don't stamp on the back brake. You know, it's just physics really. I don't know if changing the tyre would make a massive amount of difference. It might be because there's a little bit of a delay on the ABS. It will let the rear wheel lock up for, you know, half a second or so before it starts pulsing. So yeah, just bear that in mind. I don't think the braking system on this bike is particularly advanced or sophisticated. You are just going to need to do it the old-fashioned way and don't be too aggressive with it. Oh, it's roads like this that are just so much fun. On the Scout, roll around these big sweepers, even in 5th gear. All that torque just catapults you out of the corners. You can lean it over, you can chuck it around. It doesn't mind. It really doesn't. It is a cruiser that goes around corners, people. Who would have thunk it? You have to be a little bit careful not to scrape your pegs. If you're leaning the bike over that much, it will touch down a little bit. Some people have even managed to scrape the exhaust on these bikes. But if you're doing that, you're definitely not riding it right, I'd say. Or maybe you are. You just kind of barrel through corners. You don't have to change gear. It's the benefits of that wonderful torquey V-twin. Just chugs through everything. 4th gear, 5th, and then you can just sit in 6th at 60 miles an hour. all day long. So all in all, I would say I am very happy with this bike. It's been an amazing few months. It's been really eye-opening. As I said, I didn't know what I was gonna get out of this bike, whether I'd really enjoy it, and I've got two things out of it. Firstly, I've realised that cruisers are a lot of fun and relaxing on a bike is a lot of fun, and secondly, as I said, just enjoying riding Twoup and touring. And if I was ever going to change this bike, it would literally be to get something a little bit more comfortable, a little bit bigger. I still don't think I could go full on, you know, bagger or dresser, whatever you call them. Just don't think I'm up for that yet. But if I could get something a little bit more comfortable for longer trips and Twoup trips, I think that might be, you know, where I go shopping next up. But there's no immediate hurry to sell this thing because it is just so damn good. It's one of those bikes that could honestly be an heirloom machine. You know, you could keep this for a long time. It's never going to look old, it's never going to look out of date. You know, this design is already pushing on for 100 years old, you know, this kind of thing. Ducks, don't run this way. Go on. Yeah, it's never going to look dated. So you can keep this for a very long time and be very happy, which is what I am. Stick a comment down below. Are you also a converted cruiser guy? Have you been on a similar journey with this type of bike? Or is it just no way? You're just not doing it. You can't do the chrome, you can't do the shiny stuff. It's not happening for you. Let me know what you think down below, and until the next one, ride safe.